Let's take a little quiz real quick. How exactly did Pokemon completely throw off Soul Story Mode? Was it A, releasing 2 big-name Pokemon games within 2 months of each other? B, refuse to acknowledge Shinx as our god in any form of media? Or C, announcing an entirely new generation of Pokemon within the month span of the release of Pokemon Legends? More at 11. The answer will not shock you. Alright. It's finally time to talk in depth regarding the man of the hour, Pokemon Legends Arceus. And no, I don't care how the anime said it, I'm not saying Arceus. That sounds stupid. It was a long time coming, but surely enough, before us had appeared a god who finally spoke up and said that Pokemon needed a serious change in tune. So they talked to Arceus and said, let's make a game for you. And as loyal followers of that god, who are we to argue, huh? So now, the question remains. Did they do it? Did they finally fine-tune the guitar enough so that it's playable and sounds pretty good? Or did they actually just end up tearing out all of the strings and breaking the guitar so badly that it's not playable anymore? I think it's about time we go ahead and figure that out right now. Let's step in and talk about everything regarding Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now before we get started here, I actually am going to go ahead and give you guys a huge spoiler warning. We are going to be talking about everything regarding this game, and it's actually going to be necessary this time because I'm talking about everything. The story, the post-game, the end-game, if you want to call it that, everything. So just know that you've been warned. If you don't want to get spoiled on that, I recommend coming back after you've played it or seen what you need to see. So with that, I hope you are now fully aware of what you're jumping into by watching this video. I'm just gonna run and hope that you are following along with me, so let's rock. So looking back on things, it's kinda crazy to think that this game was announced on the same day as the remakes, and this is something that's virtually pretty much unheard of in the gaming realm. 2 completely different games based on the exact same series announced back to back that are coming out that close to one another? That's nuts. Balls even. Initially, everybody was actually very impressed that we were getting somewhat of an open world game for Pokemon, something that we've been asking for ages. However, the reception was still kinda wishy-washy considering the fact that the frame rates for the games and the graphics still seemed a little unpolished at the time. But you know what? Everybody and their mothers agreed on one thing, and it was definitely the fact that this game seemed a lot more interesting than whatever Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl had to offer. Once again, in the months that were leading up to them, both of these games were very quiet. The one thing that we did get was the release dates. The remakes were set for November and Legends was in late January, only literally 2 months apart, which again is completely bonkers. Based on Game Freak's track record with the previous games, everybody was starting to get a little bit more worried. What was the purpose of releasing it so soon after Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? Why was it so close to us? What was the purpose of that? Yeah, it was nice to have a different game to look forward to, but when we get something different, we want it to be the best form of different that it can be, and releasing it not even a full year away, especially after the release of a brand new set of remakes, was nothing short of concerning. So first, we received the remakes, and I was less than surprised at the outcome. There was a lot of unnecessary cut corners, a lot of missing content, and overall it just made for mid-level remakes. Yeah, sure, it was playable and I had a decent time with it for the most part, but ultimately, to put it gently, it was a wash. For anybody that's seen my review on this, you already know how I feel about these remakes. It's unfortunate the way that they turned out, and there was really no reason for it to happen that way, especially when we've gotten such good, high-praised remakes of other generations in the past. Compare those to these remakes, and it's pretty much night and day, but anyway, we're past that. So anyway, seeing those games up close made my worries for Pokemon Legends skyrocket, because it was only 2 months away. I couldn't help but think to myself, Was that really it for 4th Gen's Revisit? My favorite generation of Pokemon is only getting 2 rushed games for a quick buck? Really? Truly a tragic thought. So obviously, as it usually happens, we started to get closer to the games, and leaks were floating around like crazy. But this time, with positive feedback. I genuinely thought that I was losing my mind. There was no way that we were having such collectively positive feedback on a new Pokemon game this day and age. There was no way. I was so confused because when I say positive feedback, I meant universally by everybody that was playing it early. Everybody enjoyed their time with it, and I couldn't believe that. No wars on Twitter about the graphics or about anything else. They just had fun with the game? That's insane. The game was about a week away and I was starting to get itchy. What would this new form of Pokemon entail? What kind of journey would we be on? Would I come out of it a different Pokemon fan than I was before? Less of one? More of one? It was all down to this playthrough. The moment I got my hands on this game, I spent every ounce of my being on it for a week straight. Once for myself, and another playthrough solely for this video that you're looking at right now. Was it worth my time? Has Pokemon risen to a new high or fallen to a new low? Let's finally take a grand look at Pokemon Legends as a whole and see if it did a little something for us. So if you know me, you know that I like to keep things very simple. I like to talk about my likes, my dislikes, everything in between, my overall thoughts, my score, and then my afterthoughts. We like to start on the positive around here, so we're going to go ahead and start off with everything that I enjoyed regarding Pokemon Legends. Before we get started with that though, I feel like I should note that the goods in this case are really good. However, I feel that there's a reason for that could be considered really bad. I know that doesn't make any sense, but I'll explain myself more towards the end. I promise you we'll come back to this. We're gonna start off by talking about the music for a quick second. I'll be completely honest with you, to start off, it was a tad odd. It kind of sounded like instruments were just kind of doing things, and I was like, okay, I guess they had their fun in the studio, but this isn't Spotify worthy or anything, but whatever. And then I hit the Eterna Forest remix that they had for that area in Obsidian Fieldlands, and I'm like, okay, this is weird, but I don't hate it. Let me soak it in for a little bit. And y'all know me already. I am a sucker for Eterna Forest. That is my favorite song in all of Pokemon, and having it remixed like that, it was weird, but serene, all at the same time. And then it clicked with me. Most open world games wouldn't have that style of root music that we would have in usual Pokemon games. It needed to be a little more tame and a lot less distracting so that we could focus on the tasks in front of us. So going in with that mindset, I listened to the music throughout the game, and I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised. For the daytime themes, it was pleasantly non-distracting and very peaceful, and for the nighttime themes, it was kind of eerie and a little bit more nerve-wracking, but also not distracting. It was good. It built atmosphere, and I love that. Now, like I always say when I pretty much talk about Pokemon literally ever, music is literally almost never the issue, and in Pokemon Legends Arceus, it is literally not even an issue. Anyway, moving on from that, why don't we just start talking about the general overworld? Now, while the music definitely helps, it's just nice to generally have an overworld that feels so alive. Generally speaking, it would be nice if the NPCs were actually doing their own thing, but it's okay, because the Pokemon are, and that's kind of what matters. There is just so much to do, and so much to explore that for a while, especially when you're first getting started, it feels almost endless. For the most part, they have actually managed to use most of every area that you visit in the game, and so much has something to offer, and it's utilized for something. For example, if you somehow manage to cheese the beginning of the game and you climb up some crazy high cliff, hey, guess what? You're usually greeted by some kind of crazy alpha Pokemon, or maybe some other rare Pokemon that you didn't expect to be able to catch. And hey, even if there isn't a Pokemon available there, guess what? There's usually some kind of material you can collect, whether it be smashing rocks, picking up flowers, hitting a tree, or some other thing. So between catching Pokemon, battling Pokemon, and collecting materials, you're caught in somewhat of an endless cycle, and it's fun. It's fun and very investing. Hell, the gameplay footage that you're watching right now is my second playthrough, and I still ended up getting lost just doing things around the overworld just because it was that entertaining. Anyhow, you get the picture. Just going out into these open worlds and watching these Pokemon move around, interact, and just live is incredible. It's incredible to watch, it's incredible to interact with, and I love it. It makes the world really feel alive. When we first transitioned to 3D Pokemon on the 3DS, even when we were able to see Pokemon in the overworld sometimes, it still felt kinda dead in comparison. Which I guess is probably the reason that I appreciate this so much. It feels like they've finally been released from their shackles. Let's just hope it stays that way. Moving on. Easily, one of the best things about this game that made it so good is the seamless transitions into pretty much everything. We are now able to seamlessly capture a Pokemon even outside of battle. Hell, we can walk away after we've thrown the Pokeball and still catch the Pokemon. And we don't have to hunt for the Pokemon in this wild grass. If we see the Pokemon out in the fields, we can just throw a Pokeball at it. And that is how it should be, baby! In a similar vein, we are able to battle wild Pokemon without having to transition at all. We see the Pokemon in the overworld, we throw our Pokeball out, and our Pokemon is battling the wild Pokemon in the exact same area that we found said Pokemon, and we are already walking away after the battle before our Pokemon has even finished gaining all of their experience. These two things right here, without a shred of doubt, is one of the best things to ever change in the mainline Pokemon games. For so long now, we've been used to going into the wild grass, waiting for the transition to happen, battling the Pokemon. We win. We get the experience, and then we wait for it to transition back. That's already like 3 to 5 minutes per encounter. Hell, even just running away from a Pokemon took at least a good like 10 seconds. In this case, it takes literally 0.2 seconds because you can walk away in the middle of a battle. And you can just leave. You don't even have to press run. You could just walk away and just be done. Yeah, okay, sure, somebody on the outside may be like, oh, 10 seconds isn't even that bad, you big babies. Okay, but think about it for a second with me, bro. Look at how much extra time, when you add it all up, we have now to be able to just go off and do something else. And because of all this extra time that we're racking up, we're actually inclined to go out and do other things. All of the menial tasks that we would have beforehand are no longer menial. They are no longer intruding. They are just there. We can do them or we don't have to. And it's a beautiful thing because it can happen so fast. And it's kind of ironic because with having so much extra time, we actually end up spending even more time on the game because we feel like we have so much extra time. And it's so hilarious to me, but it's a hell of a loop. All I will say is the seamless transitions are the most beautiful thing that Pokemon has ever introduced. And now that we have it, I simply will never understand how we've gone so long without it. Repeating this again so we know exactly how I feel about this, this is the best thing to ever happen to the mainline series. Okay? Moving on. Now let's talk about another one of the most phenomenal things to ever happen to these games, the crafting mechanic. Being able to make your own Pokeballs, your own potions, and everything else that you can hold within your arsenal simply makes so much sense. Granted, this is probably something that I'm not sure would work in future games or even the previous games because I don't know how they would implement it story-wise for it to make sense. However, just having it here is a beautiful thing. And the crazy thing is that you're traversing around the overworld so quickly, so often that you should really have no problem conjuring up a Pokeball in literally less than 20 seconds if you really wanted to. Now sure, it can take a little bit of work and a little bit of grind if you want to have hundreds upon hundreds of Ultra Balls in your arsenal, but you know, I'm not really mad about it. I'm down to work for it if it really helps my experience because guess what? I'm saving that money for something else, like that evil ass hat that really needs every penny out of me to raise the amount of items that I can hold in my satchel. This dude is a dick. Okay, I digress, but I think you guys get the picture, right? You can save that money for something a lot more critical, like the special item that Ginter always has in his shop, or if you want to buy potions, or a new hairstyle, or something else. Everything that you would ever need in this game, if you don't want to buy it, you are able to find it or craft it. Money troubles should never exist in this game, ever. On a much smaller scale, the next thing that I really want to bring attention to is being able to ride Pokemon in the overworld. Now, it's not like this is something that we haven't gotten before. If you really wanted to ride alongside your Pokemon, you could also play Pokemon. Who am I kidding, bro? No, it's not the same at all. When we say riding Pokemon, this right here is literally all we were ever asking for. Making leaps and bounds across all of the fields on Weirdeer's back is awesome. Being able to glide across water on Basculegion feels quick and smooth. The power to easily scale literally any mountain using Sneasler is incredible. Literally flying across the region with Hisuian Braviary feels freaking godlike. Oh, and Ursaluna exists too, I guess. But you get what I'm getting at. On top of having so much to do in this overworld, having these Pokemon to help you traverse in such a quick manner makes you so much more incentivized to do so. You go so quickly around this overworld using all these Pokemon that you want to make laps and make sure you got everything that you possibly can, and it's so much fun. From the first moment you have access to Weirdeer, everything changes. Suddenly, you're out here moving at breakneck speeds trying to either catch a Pokemon or escape from one, and it's incredibly exhilarating. I'll be a little honest though, Braviary is a little overpowered because once you get Braviary, none of the other Pokemon matter nearly as much except maybe Weirdeer, but even then, you're abusing Braviary, let's be honest. Regardless of that though, having access to these Pokemon to ride with is literally the cherry on top to these overworlds. While it is actually very nice to have big open overworlds, it can get a little overwhelming, especially if you don't have a faster traversal method. Hence why having access to these Pokemon to ride makes that loop that you get stuck in that much stronger. And quite frankly, I can't really say that I'm mad about it. So that just about does it for that. Why don't we start talking a little bit more about the technical stuff? First off, let me just say that Game Freak, I'm very glad that you actually made a Pokemon game that can actually be considered challenging. Granted, a lot of those challenges definitely come from balancing issues, but I still appreciate what we have. Generally speaking, if you just run around willy-nilly without properly training up your team, you will get squashed, even by Pokemon you don't think will beat you. In some cases, in the midst of trying to capture a Pokemon that I didn't have in the Pokédex yet, I was getting slapped pretty hard by a level 30 against my level 60 plus Pokemon. And this is also not even mentioning Alpha Pokemon, those things are absolutely freaking dangerous. Simply put, they're the big bad boss Pokemon. They're bigger in size, literally, and their stats are better. The craziest thing is that you can encounter these Pokemon whenever you want. Right out the gate, if you want to go fight an Alpha Rapidash, you can. You will get clapped though. And I freaking love it. First, there's the danger of losing your entire party to an Alpha Pokemon that could absolutely stomp you if it felt like it. And even if you run, there's still a chance that the Alpha Pokemon will come over and literally stomp you, the trainer. Granted, that problem lessens a lot by endgame, especially because you have access to all of the rideable Pokemon. However, those Pokemon can be pretty freaking fast, bro. I've gotten wrecked by an Ursaring. When you hear the NPCs talking about how dangerous and how scary Pokemon are, you literally feel that in this game. When I started up my first playthrough, I had a fear of Alpha Pokemon that I haven't felt since running into the Guardians for the first time in Breath of the Wild. It is terrifying to watch them run up to you like that. To put it simply, my screams were filled with terror as much as they were with joy. Loved every second. Now another layer to throw on top of that is simply the fact that boss battles exist in this game. The fact that there are moments where you literally have to go toe-to-toe with a Pokemon without the help of your team for the most part is awesome. Pokemon battle? Nah, battle Pokemon. These boss battles are some of the nuttiest things to ever come to a Pokemon game. Yeah, sure, for a while it's usually just, oh yeah, learn the Pokemon's pattern, dodge, throw bombs, whatever. But then as you go along, it starts to get progressively harder. Like, sometimes it takes a while for you to actually find an opportunity to throw bombs. And then there's some of those late game, post game boss battles that will literally put you in the floor. There are so many things being thrown at you that you literally spend most of the battle just dodging, and it's awful and awesome. I'm gonna put it like this, I really hope that they add some kind of boss rush mode down the line because those boss battles are so much fun. Right before walking into every single layer of these Pokemon, I was always wondering, what could they possibly throw at me next? How are these Pokemon gonna murk me now? It was extremely different from the usual stick, but I appreciate it all the same. Now the next thing that I'd like to mention appreciation for is the fact that side quests exist. RPGs are my favorite genre, and I have played a lot of them, and one thing that I've noticed from Pokemon versus other RPGs is that for some reason, up until this point, side quests were not a thing, even though it would be so easy to implement them, and this game right here proves that very fact. Now, all of these quests are usually very simple too. Hey, have you caught this Pokemon yet? Hey, can you show me this Pokemon? Hey, have you researched this Pokemon yet? Hey, can you grab me this item really quick? Sure, it can get a little redundant sometimes, but that's exactly what you expect from side quests. If you go out of your way to do them though, you do get rewarded. And some of these items are a little bit harder to get in the overworld than others, so in reality, it would be much easier for you to actually just go out of your way to do the side quest than to find the item yourself. So not only are a lot of these quests very much worth doing, but they actually make use of the NPCs that are just chilling in Jubilife Village. By doing a lot of quests for the shopkeepers, you actually increase what they keep in their stores. You obtain more clothes by showing specific forms of Pokemon. By bringing back certain ingredients, you can start to craft more recipes. And also by bringing back specific requested material, you can increase what you can buy from the overworld shops. So looking back on it, it's really not as cut and dry as you would think. Doing a lot of these side quests really helps your overall playthrough, and they are so worth it. That is literally all we have ever been asking for, and we finally got it. Thank you. Keep this up. Speaking of progressing, why don't we talk for a second about the progression system in this game? So our goal this time around isn't actually to collect gym badges since trainers and gym leaders don't exist in this era, but instead to utilize research points so that we can get our rank up for the Galaxy team. And funny enough, this works pretty much exactly the same way that gym badges do. The level of Pokemon that will listen to you is completely determined by what rank you are. And because there's so many strong Pokemon in the overworld, you're incentivized to get that rank up pretty damn quick. And also, the Pokédex research tasks make Pokemon collecting literally addicting. The moment that you realize that you have the power to just start completing tasks, you want to complete every task for every Pokemon that's available in that area as fast as possible. Because not only does it assist finishing your general Pokédex, but the more completed checkmarks that you bring back, the more points you get towards your rank. You see the loop here? The more you collect, the more points you get. The more points you get, the more you rank up. The more ranked up you get, the more you can collect. And it just cycles. It's insane. These research tasks really made me feel like more than just some basic trainer. I felt like a true Pokemon researcher that was actually assisting in the development of the original Sinnoh Pokédex. And that was a great feeling. This is really where the tagline, "Gotta catch 'em all," really comes into play. It's so much better than simply catching one Pokemon of each species and just being done with it. And I'm actually learning a lot more about these Pokemon than I ever would have in the previous games because I actually have to utilize a lot of them. A lot of the Pokemon that you see me utilizing throughout this second playthrough here is because I researched them in my first playthrough. And now because of this, I'm using a lot of Pokemon that I probably wouldn't have ever utilized beforehand. It's very awesome, and I would love to see some kind of system like this come back in the future. Speaking of utilizing Pokemon, why don't we talk about the fact that the Pokemon accessibility is literally the best it's ever been. To clarify that, what I mean is we have access to every single Pokemon that's available in this game in the game. We don't have to wait for some event that's gonna come out for like a month and then get locked up for years on end. We don't have to rely on anybody else for trading. We can get every single Pokemon in the game ourselves if we truly want to. As a matter of fact, you kinda literally have to get the actual ending of the game. Anyway though, I appreciate the fact that I don't have to rely on anybody else if I want to get certain Pokemon within the game. If I really wanted a certain Pokemon, I would just do everything in my power to just get it on my own because I know for a fact that it's available somewhere for me to just go get. Thank you, Game Freak, for not making version exclusives with this one. I don't think we'd be able to do it again. There's also the fact that all 3 Pokemon that were locked up beforehand, being Darkrai, Shaman, and Arceus, are now all completely available if you just play the game. And that makes me so happy beyond recognition. You have absolutely no idea. And now that we have them, I don't really know what Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl has to offer us anymore, but you know what? I'm not really complaining about not having to go back to that game ever again, so whatever's clever, bro. Now moving along here, the last thing that I really want to bring appreciative recognition to is the fact that we have so much good post-game this time around. Right off the bat, as soon as you finish the game, you get to jump right into the after story. And in my personal opinion, I feel like there's a very decent amount of aftergame here. After catching a lot, and I mean a lot of legendaries and following Volo around, eventually you realize his true intentions. And then he proceeds to give you one of, if not the hardest Pokemon battles in this game. I don't know about y'all, bro, but for me, Big Dog was a little bit of a menace. And then, on top of all of that, you're actually really truly rewarded for finishing the Pokédex. What better way to cap off your long and intense journey than one final bout against God itself? This final battle really did feel like the cherry on top, and after finishing it, I felt satisfied. I felt that I'd done everything I could, and I felt like I was rewarded properly for all of my efforts. It was a very worthy battle, and afterwards, now I get to terrorize Bidoof with God. Jokes aside though, even after everything beforehand, shiny hunting is the easiest it's ever been in any Pokemon game. You just go out, catch a bunch, and maybe a Pokemon will show up. They don't? Guess what? You go out and just do it all over again. It's literally that simple. I feel like that could have had its own section, but I felt like it was very appropriate since it is part of the post-game, so why not just throw it in there? Shiny hunting is fire too. But this right here is exactly how you cap off an ending. This is the kind of finished game where I was able to pat myself on the back comfortably and then put the game down feeling satisfied. And then pick it up again and get addicted for another like 20 or so hours because I needed review footage, but you get what I'm getting at. Great post game. We love to see it. So I think that just about wraps up and puts a nice neat little bow on top of all of my positives regarding this game. Now let's dive into the hard part. Let's talk about some of my negatives. So we're about to fall in real heavy right now. I really do hate to be this guy, but I kind of have to say it. The story was less than mid. And I find that truly unfortunate because I really wanted to believe that we had a real story on our hands with this game, especially because the startup was so strong. Isekais are one of my favorite genre of anime, so getting called on by God and sent to the past to help fix the situation, that is awesome to me. So you start getting into it and you're like, man, I wonder what it is that made God decide to summon me to solve this situation. What is going on here? Eventually, you start to really get moving in the game and you start to wonder to yourself when everything's gonna get explained. And then all of a sudden, you have finished the main game and you're like, okay, whatever, cool, we have a lot of post-game still to go. I'm sure something's gonna get explained here, right? And then you finally meet him. The one, the summoner, the ultimate, God. Oh, great Arceus, why is it that you summoned me, a Pokemon master, back to the past of Sinnoh? What caused all of this ruckus? What was the problem here? What did you want me for? Battle me, young child. Oh, okay, so to get some real answers, I just gotta beat it out of you. Well, bring it on, old man! After utilizing Dialga to rewind time every time I got my ass whooped by Arceus, I finally won. And then he's like, haha, that was dope, let me come with you. And that's just kind of it. You now have God as a part of your team and you just kind of walk around. Now, at the time of this recording, they did give us a little bit extra to do with Arceus in that little dream world that he took us to, but it's just extra battles. It doesn't explain any story, and Arceus himself does not say anything regarding why it brought you to where you are. See, my problem with the story isn't necessarily what's there, but what's not there. We meet this very unique cast of characters, most of which have a goal to protect the noble Pokemon, which are specifically the ones that are shined in this golden light that make them go crazy. You go on this long journey to put all of these noble Pokemon at ease and stop their frenzies. And of course, as the newcomer with the best set of skills on the entire Galaxy Team Force, you are the primary one instructed to find out why there is a big mass portal swirling around the top of Mount Coronet. Personally, I believe that it's a fine setup. Truly, I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been incentivized to go through the story for as long as I did. And then it just feels like there's no real payoff. Like, yeah, sure, you are single-handedly pretty much dealing with this situation firsthand, little by little, and even when things get worse, you really prove to everybody that you're really there for them by taking care of business and stopping Dialga and Palkia from going out of control. Which in of itself is fine and dandy, but we don't know why that happened. Like, does it really just boil down again to just Dialga and Palkia going crazy again like they have in the past? That's lame. Because if it is, it doesn't really explain why the other Pokemon would go out of control. That's not a thing that happened in the future. And also, Arceus was just there. It was around. Why wasn't it capable of stuff? Is it not the god of Pokemon? Is that not what you guys have advertised to us this entire time? What happened? It would be one thing if Dialga and Palkia were strong enough to actually put up a fight against Arceus and Arceus became weak, so weak that they had to rely on humans to deal with the situation, but that's not the case at all, because Arceus was not present for 95% of the story. It sends you back in time to deal with this situation, you finally meet it again after completing all of its tasks, and then you battle it and it's as strong as ever. So what is the problem here? The elements were there and it just felt like because they didn't have enough time to utilize them, they just simply didn't whatsoever. And it's weird that for a single player experience, this story was so mid. You would think that for a game that has absolutely no multiplayer aspects for it whatsoever, that it would be able to focus on gameplay and story. Gameplay, it definitely managed, but story, it wasn't quite there yet. And I was kind of hoping that we would get some kind of story-heavy DLC that would really go in depth and explain why you were the one chosen to go back in time, but unfortunately, I have to throw that theory right out the window because, again, by the second half of this review's recording, Generation 9 has already been announced, and they are working on that right now. So there's no way they're going to put any more focus towards Pokemon Legends, because why would they do that? I mean, theoretically, I guess they still could, but it'd be kind of weird for them to be simultaneously working on the next big generation of Pokemon, and for some reason also focusing on Pokemon Legends for some reason, but they do still plan to give us Pokemon Home, but I can't imagine that's for any other reason other than getting our Hisuian form Pokemon over to the new region, but we'll have to see how that plays out. The long and short of it is, the story did not hit like I wanted it to. There was plenty of potential there, which is why I had such high hopes, but as per usual, I'm pretty sure all of my hopes were dashed because they didn't have enough time to really develop a story because of time, and that is a curse that the Pokemon Company has put on themselves, so I can't really say that I'm shocked there. And speaking of things with potential, another thing that really bothered me, and this really sucks to say, is that the characters are kind of weak. Now don't get me wrong, besides Irida, everybody's designs are fire in this game. I mean, Irida's okay, but have you seen Adaman, bro? Come on now. Anyway, a lot of these characters are the wardens of their respective areas, serving and protecting their lords. And that's fine and neat and dandy and all, but as soon as an actual problem arises, all of a sudden they're completely useless. Like, I'm not exactly sure what their job is anymore. Do they just watch over them and just call for help as soon as something goes wrong? I don't know about y'all, but personally, that seems like a waste of time. What are they doing just standing around watching these lords for? They don't do anything. We haven't even really seen them interact with the Pokemon like that. They're also not amazing guardians. I have to say it, they're not. And then there's characters that aren't wardens like Arezu. It's very clear to all of us by now that this is Mars' ancestor. She's got the hairstyle, she's got the hair color, she's got the look. It's great. Now personally, I had a lot more interest in Arceus as a character, which is why I was sorely disappointed when she was downgraded to nothing more than a really expensive hairstylist. I love it when characters have really good design because that means that they usually have a very important role to play in the story somehow. Unfortunately, when it comes to Pokemon, that is almost never the case. Before the DLC came along, Mai didn't get any more than maybe 5 total minutes of screen time. And don't even get me started on Adam and Irida. The only time they battled anything was when it was against you. Other than that, sometimes they got you into places somewhat maybe, and guided you in the right general direction, but other than that, they didn't do much. At a certain point, they just kind of start following you around every now and again while you get everything done yourself. And there is almost nothing more disappointing than a character that has the potential to do something, and they just kind of stand around. It's low-key infuriating. So, that really just kind of sucks. It's really damn near shameful that we didn't get to do more with these characters, and it's very likely now that we never really will, because this takes place possibly hundreds of years in the past. Hopefully we get to meet some descendants soon that are actually really cool and really important to the story, and can actually do something for themselves. And speaking of clan leaders, let's talk about their clans for a second. Now, originally what I wrote here is the fact that I'm very disappointed with the lack of trainer battles, which I can get around, but then I really thought about it, and I thought back to the clans that Irida and Adaman lead. What do these people do? Besides the wardens and the occasional regular members like Mai and Arceus, all of the others are just NPCs that you don't really talk to or meet with at all. I really feel like those clan members are where a lot of the wasted potential in this game comes from. It's very apparent that right from the get-go, both of the leaders don't really care for when one or the other steps into enemy territory and things like that. So I would imagine even when they're getting help from the Galaxy team, other members would still be very suspicious and cautious of running into those people in the wild. Now, of course, we do see the occasional NPC just kind of roaming around in the wild, but besides the occasional quest or two that's kind of lying around in the overworld, they don't do much. They just kind of sit there. Don't get me wrong, I completely understand that this is the era where people were scared of Pokemon, so I guess to an extent it would make sense that these people wouldn't really go out of their way to battle and catch Pokemon or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, why not? You guys are praying to deities that you believed created Pokemon and you're grateful to them, but you have your own unique beliefs. Why is nothing done with that? What are these people in these clans for? And the craziest thing is, if I'm understanding correctly, we don't even know where their actual turfs lie. We're able to visit the camps that they're staying at while they're next to the Galaxy team for the entirety of the story, but we are unable to go to their actual bases, meaning that even in-game, we're only able to see about maybe like 20 to 30 NPCs regarding each clan. Hell, even those numbers I gave were probably an exaggeration. I have no idea because I barely talked to those members because they didn't really do anything. Because of their strong beliefs, there was supposed to be a lot of tension between these two clans, but right from the get-go of the game, they kind of just throw that out the window because of how goofy the leaders interact. When those two interact, I don't get a sense of, oh, these are two clan leaders that could go to war at any time if somebody acts up. No, it's more like two very long-time lovers arguing over stupid stuff every 5 minutes. It's a joke. It's a joke. So because of that, every time I run into individual members, whether it be wardens or anything right below that or just the regular members, I don't sense any tension between them at all. Like, obviously it's kind of hard for some of them to get along, I guess, sometimes, but they still go out of their way to help each other and be friends almost immediately, and that really takes away from that illusion that we're in an era where they could just go to war at any time. It doesn't fit now. I could go into a whole spiel about how they could definitely have fixed this or utilized them better, but I find that kind of pointless now because it's been months after the fact and a new game's on the horizon, so I can't care anymore. It's just a waste, and it really sucks. Now, I have one final complaint, one that I purposefully waited till the end to talk about because this one was up in the air up until even the game was released and afterwards, but I have to say it, the graphics also kinda suck. Now, don't get me wrong, they were definitely bearable and passable, and I could play the game and it looked okay, but it was still very messy. One part of me is like, okay, cool, they did pick an art style to actually try and stick with. They attempted to do something with this. And then the other part of me is like, yeah, this big name RPG shares a console with Breath of the Wild and Astral Chain. Why does this game look like this? For some reason, they still refuse to put trees in the ground. Textures still look very off-putting a lot of the time. And I'm kind of grateful that it runs at a consistent 30 frames. Like, I've never really had frame drop issues in this game, but at what cost? Obviously, graphics have absolutely never been a deal breaker for me. I don't care what the game looks like, if it has a very good story or I'm having a lot of fun. And if it has both, then we get the best of both worlds. I don't really care. I just find it a damn shame that such a fun game can get bogged down by something as simple as graphics, that if the time was taken to make work even better, then it could have been a damn near perfect game. Damn near perfecto. But hey, the graphics didn't get in the way of the story or the gameplay whatsoever, and that is totally acceptable, so I can get with that. Just really hoping that one of these days we can finally put some trees and real grass in the ground. Pokemon, I am begging. So that actually just about wraps up all of my bad thoughts regarding Pokemon Legends. So why don't we go ahead and give it a score and a rating? When people say that this is the best Pokemon game in ages, I don't blame them because I don't think that they're exaggerating. It has been such a long time since I've been so invested in a Pokemon game that I could not put it down. I physically struggled to put the Switch down. For me, something like this rarely happens with most games, so I'm really pleased to see that it happened with a Pokemon game of all things. Therefore, based on what we've got here, I think that it's safe to go ahead and give Pokemon Legends Arceus an 8.5 out of 10. While the story was very expected to be mid and the graphics hurt just a little bit, it didn't take away from the experience at all, and I can appreciate that very deeply. I long for games that can immerse me just like Pokemon Legends Arceus did all the time. So I'm very happy that Pokemon Legends gave me an amazing first time experience, and I would kill to have that again. So before we wrap things up here, I'm sure you can see the timestamp, we've still got something to talk about for a second. Remember what I said about the good being extremely good, and that could be considered a bad thing? I'm sure that in the moment when you first heard it, it didn't really make a lot of sense, but let me bend your ear for a second. At this point in time, you've seen my thoughts and you've seen my score, so by now you know that I feel very positively about this game. This game offers a lot when it comes to the potential of future Pokemon games, but based on what we've received, I can't help but think to myself, shouldn't we be farther along by now? It's so hard to believe that we only just got the previous big name remakes in the franchise only about 2 months ago, considering what Legends is to us right now. It's this game that really does make me believe that they fully intended to undermake the remakes so that Legends could look that much better by comparison. But the crazy and infuriating thing about that is, they never needed to do that. Legends changes up the game so much that frankly, even if you didn't release the remakes right before Legends, it still would have surpassed the previous games by a mile. Now, it's kind of infuriating to admit this, but in reality, we have been conditioned to accept the bare minimum of new change as incredible. Do you understand what I'm saying here? We got the bare minimum of unique change for this game that it's needed for so long, and now that we kind of got something like that, we are clamoring for every game to either be just like that or just a little bit better. And hey, I'm not speaking for everybody, this may just be a me thing, but I can tell you right now that if we were to take any step back from Pokemon Legends that we've taken, that would kill me inside. Kill me. Trust me, I am fully aware that I'm being overdramatic about this, and that's why I think that it's a bad thing. It's very sad and tragic that I personally feel that we took such a small step that if we were to take any form of step back, it would feel like falling off a cliff. That is a crazy analogy, but you hear me, right? This series has been stale, so stale for such a long time that we all have recognized by now that it needed some really very strong tune-ups, and we finally got something equivalent to a strong tune-up for us. Maybe not for other franchises, but for Pokemon, it's huge. And that is terrifying, because how many itty-bitty baby steps are we going to take with this series before we're comfortable enough to make a huge turnaround? Thankfully, I follow other franchises, so I've seen big-name games make huge turnarounds and become so good after just a couple of years of work and technical breakthroughs and things like that. And I really hope that Pokemon goes through the same thing, but I hope it doesn't take too long to get to that point. And it's crazy because I guarantee you that Pokemon is not thinking of anything like that. They have the money to just keep cranking out crap if they really wanted to and making a quick buck off of that because it's Pokemon. If they want to take a step back, they could. If they want to take a step forward, they could. They have the time and money to do so, and we cannot shift that mindset at all because we love Pokemon too much to just not buy the games. That's just how it is sometimes. Looking at the script right now, that was an insane mood shift. I'm just gonna go back to talking about Legends right now. Anyway, I'm grateful because at least this time around there was some reasonable sacrifice. Yeah, the graphics were just barely acceptable, but we got some mad fun gameplay and it's decent enough to look at, so I don't really care. And the story was very mid, but this is Pokemon. I probably shouldn't have had my hopes up all that high to begin with. I had my theories going in, but I should have been a little more realistic. They were set on a limited time and they only had so much time to play around with all these new mechanics to make work for us, so writing a crazy in-depth story, that probably would have been a lot for such a small amount of time. But this is a phenomenal start. This is the ideal Pokemon game that we've been waiting to see something like for such a long time now. This freedom, this fear of the unknown, followed by excitement, finally feeling like a real Pokemon trainer with their own goals in mind all the time, instead of following some innate path and instantly becoming the champion. It's really refreshing to finally have a Pokemon game that I can be somewhat proud of and not hesitant to call one of my favorites, because quite frankly, it's up there for me. I look forward to any Pokemon game that has any semblance of Pokemon Legends residing within it, because this is a step in the right direction for Pokemon, and anything less would be criminal. So that right there just about does it for my official review of Pokemon Legends Arceus. This is also most likely the last time that I'm going to be talking about Legends Arceus, or at least for a little while, because this game doesn't really have much for us anymore. At the midway point of this review, a straight up month passed before I finished this because I had to focus on Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, which thankfully has some semblance of this game within it, so I'm really looking forward to that. But Pokemon Legends is pretty much done with. I do wish that I had the time to actually talk about the DLC, which I can kind of for a second. It was nice. It was a nice little cherry on top to really cap off that game, but it didn't add anything so significant that it changed everything, you know? And while part of me is a tad disappointed that we didn't get like some big extravagant DLC with story and more Pokemon access and things like that, I'm content with what we got. It was a phenomenal experience, an experience that I can't wait to come back to again and again and again. It's also an experience that gives me a lot of hope for the Pokemon franchise, because if this is the direction that they're really looking at, like if this is truly the base of their vision, then I'm really looking forward to the rest of this series, because it can go somewhere really incredible, and I'm gonna be on the ride the entire time. And hopefully with all of you. But hey, Generation 9 is right on the horizon, so we're not gonna have to wait long to find out where this series is truly going. So that actually truly does officially finish it for the all-time big review for Pokemon Legends Arceus. I told y'all that I was going to keep working on this, and I was not kidding. I was not kidding at all. I had to really hunker down, do so much work to get all of those videos out for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that previous March, and I'm glad I did, but that pretty much leaves me with not a lot to do for these next couple of months. I'm kind of coasting right now, so like I said, if there's anything else you guys want me to talk about, whether it be about Legends, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or just something Pokemon related in general, then hey, I'm all ears. I would love to do everything in my power to give you guys another month like March, but in reality, I don't know what to give. So you guys are gonna have to help me with that. I'm gonna throw some things out there. If you like it, make sure you let me know, because we can continue doing it. But otherwise, you gotta let me know, Chief, because Pokemon Legends is done, the remakes are done, and Scarlet and Violet is gonna be dry for these next couple of months, I promise. So we're gonna just have a little bit of fun around here in the next coming months. So hopefully you guys are still around for the ride, because I've really enjoyed being on it with everybody. So I've got some bad news. I noticed that the mic was just kind of jammed into your Switch. Like it was just really in there, and I pulled it out. Your Switch is in shambles, bro. I don't know what to tell you, but you know, maybe you could take the mic, turn it on right now, and go ahead and tell me, not about your Switch, about how you feel regarding Pokemon Legends Arceus. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you absolutely despise it? Do you see the Pokemon series going this direction in the future? Do you think that they're going to delve away from it because it would be too good to be true? What are every single one of your thoughts? I want to know them, and I'm going to read every single one of them in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always down there with you guys, without a doubt. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get the hell up out of here. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this. And with that, I'm gone. Thanks again, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!